So, I hope you had a chance to participate in an interesting session before, and I hope the one that we're gonna give it to you will be also informative and interesting. Otherwise, we can go back to our stand. So before we're gonna start, today with Łukasz, we would like to present to you the concept of the way how we believe you can build the application, not only application, but whole service, using some templates. So this is the concept that we put in place at PMI. And in general, what we're gonna share today is a kind of continuation of the concept that we put in place last year. But this year, in particular, we started industrializing this vision. So I think in overall, it's a good sign that, whatever we talk about last year is also somehow being implemented as being used by the people. So before we're gonna go further, let me introduce myself. So my name is Piotr Musiał. I'm working for Philip Morris International. Joined this company almost like 9 years ago. Prior working to PMI, I was working for IBM. I see some colleagues from IBM here as well. And right now, I'm looking after the DevOps capabilities. In general, we started building this team back in 2018. Initially, the goal was to somehow develop the DevOps tools. And in 2022, our focus was somehow changed into the different approach. So we started building, let's say, DevOps and software practices around the tools that we are putting in place for our customers. So this is all about myself. So maybe Łukasz, you can take it from here.
I hope you can hear me well as well. My name is Łukasz. I joined PMI in 2016, initially in project management office, supporting toolset and methods for project managers. Then in 2018, I joined the team of Piotr, so DevOps engineering, and since then I'm related to DevOps and cloud. In the company, currently leading team of engineers who are delivering these templates you will hear about today, and also trying to industrialize standards and practices for software engineering, infrastructure, cloud. So that's all about me.
Thanks, Łukasz. So going further, before you will have a chance to see let's say, the templates in action, I would like to give you a bit of also a better understanding on what we're gonna do, on what we're gonna talk about today. So first of all, I will briefly talk about PMI, what PMI is doing, and what IT is doing in this big, large corporation. I will also try to recap on the concept that we've been sharing with you last year. So it's as I was mentioning before, it's a continuation, and we are trying to materialize the vision that we had put in place last year. Then Łukasz will walk you through the templates, why we believe those templates are important, and how can you, let's say, use them in order to, let's say, speed up the process of delivering the software. I will also talk about the integration, because at the end, those templates, there needs to be incorporated into the landscape that we do have on our side. We'll also briefly talk about how we used to work and how do we work right now using those templates and how they are fitting into the overall DevOps practices. I will also briefly highlight about the roadmap, because this is also something that we are working on. So I will show you where we are right now and what are the, let's say, North Star concerning this. And then we're gonna conclude the session, but before the session itself, it will be concluded, you will have a chance to see the templates in actions. So I hope this part would be very interesting for you. So, taking this occasion that I'm here, and at the end I'm representing Philip Morris International, I want to mention a couple of words about the company itself. So, as you know, PMI is like largest tobacco company in this globe, and right now we are going through one of the biggest transformation. And of course, if there is any kind of transformation in the company, IT is playing the crucial role. So that's the reason why we are here. So globally, we are hiring more than 70,000 people. Just in Krakow, we have more than 300 experts, and they are working in different departments, ranging from artificial intelligence, platform engineering, to cloud operations. Of course, we have some teams that are supporting us, but this is not important at this stage, I would say. When it comes to the diversity, because it's also something that PMI is promoting, we have more than 20 nationalities working just in IT Hub in Krakow. and more than 30 positions that we have in IT, they are being held by the women. So it's also something that we are proud of. But don't want to get you bored with that. So let's maybe try to recap of what we have been sharing with you, some of you, last year. So in general, we started thinking of building, let's say, DevOps tools long time ago. So that was, let's say, well established in our organization. But then along the way, we realized that there is a really need of coming from the software engineers to build the standards. Not only the standards, but also templates. So last year, I think we were not here, but in another room. I think it was even in the corridor. We were talking about the vision, because we realized that there are distributed teams in the organization, and all of them, they are doing, let's say, software in different way. Yeah? So we realized that this is like kind of waste, and we want to kind of stabilize this and put some standard in place so that everybody would follow the same kind of mindset. So that was the idea. And what happened, it seems that our vision that we had in our minds last year was kind of materialized, and right now we are really industrializing the templates and the way how we operate the software in the large scale. So it's happening, really. And you will have a chance to see that also in a couple of minutes. When it comes to the goals, it's also something that is worth to highlight up here, because at the end, those templates is not about just templates, but we are putting them on some purpose, yeah? So first of all, we would like to avoid redundancy in the organization, so we don't want to have the situation that, again, we're gonna have like development teams doing the software by themselves, you know, building the standards, defining different CICD pipelines by themselves. At the end, we are one organization, so we want to have some kind of concept working the same way for everybody. And of course, all of this is somehow bringing simplicity, because, you know, the templates that we are building on our site, they are built in the way that, you know, you can, for example, today you can put like, you know, simple S3 and CloudFormation to run your HTML page. And if you want to like extend the service, you can like go to the library, you can pick up any kind of module that we have, and then if there is a need to extend the service, you can do it. And you don't have to like, you know, go and explore all the, let's say, services that we have in the organization, but focus on the one that are really important for you. So at the end, it's also like bringing some cost savings and bringing team up to speed. So at the end, when it comes to the standardization, one day, you know, if you have like multiple teams supporting this and that solution, you may realize that you want to also centralize those services. So if you're gonna have like the same kind of landscape everywhere, following the same kind of, let's say, standards, it would be easier to manage the landscape and changing, for example, team in the organization so that everybody would be able to support the same kind of solution in the same way. So it's very important for us to have such kind of approach. But right now, let me hand it over my voice to Łukasz, who will give you more insights on the templates, how they are being designed, and what is inside of them.
Sure, thanks a lot. Actually, before I will start talking about templates as such, I want to say that we are lucky we know the goals that we want to solve with these templates. But I need to give a heads up to other colleagues from our company who are actually building the platform that we are calling DEEP, Delivery Engineering Enterprise Platform, because you need to know a bit more about the context of and environment that we are working in. So it's not in PMI, it's not like you are really receiving plain and out-of-the-box version of services that we are using for software engineering, for infrastructure like AWS accounts. We are rather relying on a platform which is delivering consistent configuration for all the products that we are managing in the company. So what our team is doing, we are building the solutions that we later on put on top of this platform. We decided to establish these templates in order to find these common use cases which are reusable, repetitive. We know that some projects are not that unique as people might think about them. So probably a lot of services will rely on some containers, on serverless, and you know, reinventing the same infrastructure modules or just similar ones is just counterproductive. So what we decided to do is first to obviously gather all of these repetitive cases. How we are doing it, I will also tell you in a moment. And then bundle these reusable components, building blocks into a thing which we are calling template, version it, publish to the repository, and make it available for people. So The composition of the template as such, you have infrastructure module, which is usually in place, and is playing crucial role there. So we actually have a Terraform module, which is parameterized. We ensure that it's compatible with the platform. We also provide CICD pipeline for the tool of our choice that we use within a company, which is also compatible. And we make sure that it coexists properly with the infrastructure that we put in place. There is more, like monitoring aspects, security policies, automation, and also, last but not least, application code bootstraps. So we don't only want to provide, infrastructure and CI/CD pipeline, because that's something that probably people can search around the internet and go to Google and ask for a module for ECS Fargate. That's fine, but they need still to make it compatible with our platform. They need to combine some handy CI/CD setup for this, and also establish everything from scratch, right? So that's something we rather want to avoid. And application code bootstrap is also like simple hello world or API based application that you can deploy together with the template. So whenever this is done, and you do it rather within like minutes, maybe hour, rather than days or weeks. Moving on to after composition, we need to focus a bit like how do we actually build these templates, right? So process looks quite simple, I would say. It's 4 steps, and I will stick to that opinion that it's simple. We first measure the demand, right? Piotr mentioned a bit about the scale, so you may imagine that we have hundreds of projects, services, applications. It's not easy to just go and rely only on a small talk in a kitchen and asking your colleagues what are you planning to do in the next release or something like this. But we obviously do that. We are human, so we talk to each other. But we also release some surveys that we send together with some events, webcasts that we have. And also the most important element of this step is to maintain properly and have in place the service desk, which we use. It's simple form where you can either create a feature request and also maybe raise a bug. Hello. So we collect this information, and our colleagues from another projects can tell us in advance that there will be a need to provide some infrastructure. Maybe they will have similar application that they will deploy 20 times to 20 different markets, and okay, there's some performance. So once we have this information, the monitoring requirements, infrastructure requirements, and all of that we can later on put in place to template, we simply proceed to iterative development. And I call it iterative. We are working in Scrum. It's 2023. Probably many of you do the same. I want to say that we are not only doing it to have fancy names like stakeholder, product owner, or Scrum Master, or development team member, but we also do it to have like frequent contact and with our customers, right? So we have even formal opportunity to share every second week with our colleagues what we delivered in these areas which were requested. We fulfill their documentation, we build entire composition. Sometimes it takes sprint 2, sometimes even more, because as you will see, templates may differ. They rely on different services in cloud. They rely on different CI/CD configuration and so on. Once we finish the development and it's accepted, we can finally verify it. So what we do is simply we are trying to eat our own dog food, like they say. We deploy it in several configurations to different AWS accounts, to in different configurations to CI/CD tool, and we just make sure that it works, right? Of course, for each and every separate component, there's also some automated testing, like for the application code bootstrap or CI/CD pipeline, we can test it beforehand. But as such, as an entire template, we want to just simply make sure that it works as a whole. And last but not least, we do publish the template, of course. So we do that in various ways. Actually, we send the notification. This is kind of obvious, I guess. We publish in the repository. But whenever I say repository, you will require some words of explanation. I don't mean like, probably you can imagine GitHub, which is open, like open source projects, right? With pull requests and other comments there. You can imagine also Bitbucket projects, but it's in fact something different. There is more. Because we are lucky enough to have this platform in place where people anyway go to access their products, go to request something, we decided to integrate with this platform and provide this template catalog within the product details. So as you will see during the demo, you simply go as team member to the details of your product, and you see all of the templates which are available because there are some requirements, right? Either from the side of template or from the product capabilities. So we match the template with the product, and if it's available, you will see it here. Some examples, so we do have this before mentioned S3 and CloudFront. We also rely on Fargate and ECS for containers, some Lambda functions. Also, there is interesting solution for API testing, which is mock serverless, written by our colleagues in Portugal, and others for monitoring some more specific templates. Once you choose the template of your choice, you see all of the versions that we put in place. Not sure if I mentioned versioning before, but we are also strict about it, so all the breaking changes, minor releases, patch releases, we do care about customers and contributors especially, so we don't want to make anybody confused. We are also aware that this is running in production, so we need to provide some upgrade possibility and do not disturb any workloads as much as possible. From here, there are a couple of links like resources, so there's a Bitbucket repository, Confluence page, there might be more resources if those are available, we can put there, and also the download link. Currently, you see the automation here in this slide, right? I need to say, this is automated, of course, like publication of the template, creating the versions, and so on. The deployment of the template, however, is still manual. As you know, we started last year, and we decided to first focus on the content that we want to deliver, meaning the modules, the building blocks. Later on, also start automating the deployment so that you will not only be able to download template as a zip package and just copy the files to appropriate places, adjust variables and run it, but you will also be able to run it from here. So open a form, fulfill variables, and deploy it to target environment. So I guess like technicalities we can put them aside for a moment. I just want to compare now the usual, typical way of developing things from scratch, starting new project, or maybe adding something to existing solutions. So usually this way starts from some idea, right? And then you have this work in progress process, which sometimes is less complicated, sometimes it's very complicated, but you need to take care about a lot of things. Build the infrastructure, build the CICD, start even designing the solution, even consider how would you build the packages, how would you version it, how would you monitor your solution, and so on and so forth. So in the middle of this slide, you see this guy, this little guy who is coding, and this guy is doing the actual request, because your customer just requested another business logic to be implemented to your solution, right? But all of the surroundings also takes time, right? So if you're lucky enough, you will deliver this application. It will be this green website. When it comes to the goal, probably website is not a goal as such. The satisfaction of the requester is the goal. You will achieve it, right? It will cost you some money, some budget, some time, but maybe you will get to that. We thought that, especially in a scale that we work in, there is a chance to make it a bit more efficient, and this is what we call the templates way, right? So you start with this idea, there is no difference probably, and you have way more streamlined way to achieve your goal. You actually still need to focus on a business logic, there is no difference, but you start with choosing the right template, you make less architectural decisions, you see what is already available in the company, you deploy it, you run it, place some parameters, variables, because you need just to update it and obviously adjust to the extent that is possible. And you achieve the goal, right? Way faster slide, I guess. But it's not always true, obviously, because sometimes you are just simply missing the template that is available. What to do then? In that case, I suggest strongly, if you see that there is a possibility that in the future somebody will use it, that maybe once you do all of the work from scratch, it's worth to publish it with rest of the community. So we already have the space to do that. We offer support in area of, in order to, adjust it to the platform that we have. And plus, I think that everybody will benefit from that approach. Sometimes, as I mentioned, there are really unique cases, and they might simply just build solutions from scratch, but for a lot of projects, we just see that they require repetitive tasks, and they have similar capabilities, they require similar efficiency and capabilities of cloud solutions. So I will hand over now back to Piotr for the roadmap.
Right, maybe if I may complement what Łukasz just said. In general, the operating model that we have in our organization is that it's not only us pushing the standards to our customers, but we really work hand in hand, let's say, with other engineers, and everybody can contribute, but we maintain this repository. So if you want to contribute, you can do that easily. You can open the pull request, then we can approve it if everything is fulfilled up there in the context of requirements, because we have to look at after many aspects like security and so forth. So all of this, once it's considered, we can approve, let's say, your template, and it can be used also by others. So we are promoting kind of different way of working. It's not like we know everything about, let's say, DevOps practices and templates. We want to really work with everybody in the organization in the way that if you have something, feel free to publish it. And of course, this, whatever you're gonna build can be also reused by others. So it's the way how we want to operate. And this is what is happening those days as well, yeah.
And also even 24 hours ago, in the same stage, there was presentation given by the colleague from Meta, actually about the building ecosystems, right? But the interesting thing that he said was about difference between users and contributors, and we are really putting a lot of focus on the contributors and making it easy for them to contribute, creating contribution guidelines, and just enabling them in one-to-one conversations, and just having this service desk. So it all hopefully looks consistent to them, and yeah, we can proceed with the roadmap.
All right.
Sorry.
So here on the slide you see, let's say, the evolution of the team. I don't want to discuss the, let's say, beginning when we started putting the team in place, but wanted to focus on the activities that we are dealing with right now. So right now we are really focusing not only on the guidelines that was, let's say, the goal for last year, but really we are really delivering the templates and modules that can be implemented anywhere on the infrastructure. But for this, let's say, for upcoming quarters, we have some other important milestones that we have to achieve, because one thing is around, let's say, having application up and running, but there is another aspect which we cannot forget about is around monitoring framework. So what we are trying to put in place, this is, let's say, still kind of in the early stage of the development and discussions, we want to put in place the monitoring framework with some elements of artificial intelligence. So basically, our goal is to have, let's say, modules that can be easily installed on the infrastructure, and then those modules would be able to monitor infrastructure, as I was mentioning before, around in the context of AI. We want to put some also, let's say, features that allow us to predict outage, if any, and take some further steps proactively. So this is all of the activities that we are trying to deliver this year. We are really looking after it. There is a strong push from the organization to have this monitoring up and running for all the services in the organization. So this is exactly what we are trying to do right now. So going beyond, let's say, this year, since we are growing, and the vision, I'm really proud of that. What I was having in my mind last year was kind of materialized, and it's being industrialized in the organization, which is, I believe, great achievement. It's not easy to get buy-in from, let's say, all the teams around when you have hundreds of IT people in the organization. So I think it's something that it is working quite well up here. So beyond 2024, we want to further expand the capabilities. So we want to really like deliver the full landscape of the, or let's say, full portfolio of the templates. So whenever you're gonna have a need to build even tiny application, you will be able to find the template for it. So this is the goal for the organization, and really we are pushing towards this let's say milestone. So maybe I don't want to get you bored with this roadmap, so maybe let's jump into the demo so that you really gonna see how those templates are working in the PMI landscape.
Yes, okay. We can start with the demonstration, of course. And for that purpose, we have a video.
We usually know that during such kind of sessions, if you're gonna start using browser and start clicking things on in the internet, then probably either there will be problem with internet or the service itself will not work. So
and
we have a recording for
this
it.
video will work anyway, so it's also, you know, the risk. But yeah, actually this is real recording of one of our review meetings, some few sprints ago, but still relevant. And we start here, as I mentioned before, in this portal, which is offering these capabilities like CICD tools, infrastructure accounts, and you can also see the templates catalog, and somebody choosing the template 4 in that case, which is all around the AWS Lambda and the Golang sample. We access from here all of the links that are available, so in repository, that's what interests the most engineers probably. Confluence page, which is very important because of the deployment guidelines, and that's the place where we are going to start. So from here, you can read about all of the prerequisites, composition, architectural diagram, meaning you can see here what you will get with the template, not only infrastructure components, but also, you know, CI/CD wise and others. You also see the variables that you need to consider, and that gives you some possibility to parameterize the solution. You see the infrastructure CI/CD description, so everything more in details, like description of each and every stage. Some important caveats information that tells you that you need to be careful with some, in some cases. And also, last but not least, these deployment guidelines. So deployment guidelines is really like step-by-step instruction in order what to do in order to get it running into target environment, right? So simply it's not only about the infrastructure, but also the pipelines and the rest of the configuration. Next stage of this video shows how does it work in just, you know, plain implementation next to some existing infrastructure. So we are starting in the template that was downloaded. We downloaded this package, which after extraction you see the pipeline, for example, and it tells you that you will probably need some ARN, so looks like output from infrastructure, right? It's also mentioned in deployment guidelines that you will have to place it first. So it's a good moment to clone the repository for infrastructure where you store all of the Terraform scripts for your account. And here we will start like supplying all of the variables that we need to update and, you know, just choosing the right files to deploy. Of course, templates can contain different examples of deployment, so from simple applications to, you know, multi-tenancy to some more advanced use cases. In that case, it's the simple one. The only caveat is that actually some files, as for those who know Terraform, might already be there. There might be some outputs, some locals, so it might get conflicting if you have already existing infrastructure. You need to merge it here. It's also described in the docs, so nobody should have any major problem with that. And yeah, here you can see these updates of files and the variables as such. So it's in this manual semi-automatic version, let's say, looks like more or less copying and pasting files, right? So almost like copying and pasting the code, so should be good. And yeah, here the next stage will be to just simply publish it to Bitbucket, which we use for source code, and you will see the pull request, which is already connected to part of this platform that we have in place called Terraform Enterprise. So this actually gives us a lot of possibilities in order to to get visibility in nice consistent UI, some requests, some approvals, some variables, secret variables to be updated in place, right? So yeah, a bit more of git clone, git push, git checkout, whatever happens there. From what I saw, it was about updating the variables for Lambda function name, right? So we may expect that this will be the one. And we published the infrastructure code. You see my colleagues were super efficient and they already approved it. So we finally have just 2 files in the repository. As I mentioned, the example contained more, but due to the fact it was existing infrastructure, we just had to merge it with rest of the stuff. And yeah, we merged it, and here you can see the UI of Terraform Enterprise, which is running right now. Because of merge, automatically new build has been started. So this workflow is also more or less automated.
Plan was successful.
Yes, run is successful, plan is successful, and run will be successful. That's something I know, or I hope this video will not surprise me, And yeah, at the end, of course, the video is accelerated sometimes, right? So if you notice, don't blame me, it's just so that we don't wait here 10 minutes for deployments. You see the outputs here, right? So that's the thing that we were asked in Jenkins file to fulfill. So we just can prepare CICD. We can create a space in our tool that some of you may recognize already. Definitely some DevOps engineers are with us, so they know the tool pretty well. Just, regular configuration with branches, so nothing that interesting. It's also, following step by step. For some templates, we plan to deliver, more like DSL scripts to just invoke them instead of creating all of it manually. But it's like a process. As I mentioned, we are focusing more on the content and actual use cases than all of the technicalities, because we see that it's not a problem, right, to do few more clicks, and it's a problem if you need to spend months automating it first. So we also care about the speed. Yeah. Again, git push, git pull, git commit. Yes, git commit now. Sorry, I barely see the screen in this small one. And here we also create the pull request. I believe this one is configured in a way that on the pull request stage, you will get it deployed to QA. Of course, you can adjust it in the pipeline. So you see it is running, it is scanning the image that is being built for the Lambda function. It is supplying some parameters, pushing it to ECR, and just updating the Lambda code. Yes, and again, we have all green, so all of the successes. We have now time to test the template, right? As I mentioned, we have already some hello world function. Probably at that time it was hello world, so we can check if it's running properly, and yeah, I can see great success, right? And of course, I mean, for the use case of application itself, it's not the purpose to show you how do we deploy hello world applications, right? But the purpose is more to show you how we actually aim to, how we aim to automate, how we aim to streamline the delivery process in order to not do the repetitive stuff, to avoid this redundancy and simplify with parameters. So that's it from me. Thank you.